This could be the coolest gate lock ever, but we're getting ahead of ourselves.
So I have some pretty big plans for this area of my yard. The problem is I only have access through a gate on the complete opposite side of my backyard. So in this video, we're gonna add a gate to the existing fence right over there.
And I'm also gonna show you how to cut out the existing fence panel, how to add the bracing and secure everything in place using Power Pro screws.
And we're also going to install probably the coolest and the most secure lock I've ever seen. Let's get into it. So here's a look at the fence from the front yard. Right there is where we're going to be adding our gate. Now you might be tempted just to take your Sawzall, put it right in between the gap, and then start cutting. But I highly recommend that we first start by prying off this panel and taking a look at what's going on the other side. So as you can see, we have our post right there. So this right here is the panel that we want to remove. So I just got a hammer right here. It's not really the right tool. I think I'm gonna go on the other side and start tapping it. Okay, so we have that mostly loose. We'll go to the other side and remove it.
When you're seriously hurt on the job, there's a lot on the line.
All right, we got the panel out, nice. We'll just remove the nail right here. We got one more nail at the bottom here. Okay. And just as I suspected, there's screws here that are holding this rail to the 4x4. So we should just be able to unscrew these. One down, same thing on the bottom here, and remove this whole panel pretty easily. Now we should be unscrewed, but for some reason this guy right here is holding on for dear life. I wonder if there's a nail or something that I can't see. So let me get the pry bar and pry it off. Oh shoot, it's on there pretty good. I don't know what's attaching that. I might want to use the Sawzall. I don't know what's going on. All right, hold on. Okay, made it to the other side, record time. Let's try to cut out whatever the heck's holding that on there. All right, so we got it loose on this side. Let's figure out what's going on the other side. So because this picket right here is directly behind the 4x4, it's gonna be extremely hard to try to pry that out. So instead, I'm gonna take my Sawzall and just cut off the screws that are attaching the rail to the 4x4. So the reason I'm having such a hard time removing this panel is because the idiot who actually built this fence nailed through the pickets and into the rail on this side. So all of these nails are securing that panel in the front. I feel like a Sawzall is gonna be the easiest way to cut these.
Have you been injured on the job?
And now that we have the fence panel removed, I'm just gonna take out any of the nails that are left in the 4x4s.
Okay, so it's pretty dirty where the rail is actually attached to the post here, so I'm gonna go ahead and just power wash everything to get it nice and clean. Now at this point, we just need to turn that fence panel into a gate. So I'm gonna start by measuring the top and the bottom. So here at the top, we're at about 54.5. And here at the bottom, we're at 55. So about a ½ inch difference from the bottom to the top. So I have the fence panel positioned up here so I can make a cut. We'll start here at the bottom. Because the bottom had a measurement of 55 all the way across, we're gonna mark at 54.5 because I wanna have a1/4 inch of clearance on either side of the gate so that it doesn't hit the 4x4s when it's opening and closing. So we had 55, so I'm gonna mark 54.5 right here. And at the top of the gate, we had a measurement of 54.5, so I'm gonna mark right at 54 right here. Now I'm gonna use a chalk line to make the cut line that I'm gonna cut using my circular saw. Then I have my circular saw right here. I wanna make sure that the depth is deep enough to cut through both the picket and the rail right here. So if I need to adjust that, I will. Looks like we should be in good shape and we can make our cut. All right, let's see how we did.
And after the test fit, I was pretty confident to move forward with the bracing.
All right, let me try to fumble this thing back onto the stand. So at this point, we gotta reinforce this gate in between here and here, in between here and here, and then we gotta put a horizontal brace in between. So I try to avoid measuring whenever I can.
So I'm just gonna butt one side up to the rail, mark the other side, and then use a carpenter square to give us our cut line.
Perfect. There's our first one. Now we'll just repeat that process for all the rest.
And this board fit in perfectly, but the other two needed a little bit of persuasion.
Now to actually secure these braces in place, we're using 3-inch Power Pro screws, best screw in the game. Let's go ahead and open this guy up and grab a couple screws. Now, in order to make these connections, we're gonna do kind of a toenail. So basically we're gonna go in a little bit here, and then we're gonna go at an angle to actually connect into the brace that's existing. So we have a 3-inch screw, we'll go about an inch, inch and a half back, and then we'll start to go into the board. Once you feel it bite, you're gonna go ahead and reverse, and then you're gonna come back out, turn it at an angle, and then start securing it in place. Start it, dial it back out, go at your angle, and then start drilling.
And then we're gonna repeat this process at each connection point. I'm using 2 Power Pro screws per connection, and another benefit of Power Pro screws is I feel like they drive a little bit faster than other exterior rated screws. And when you're toenailing in screws like this, you can see that there's a little bit of wood poking up, and to remove that, you can use a chisel. I just used a putty knife because it was right next to me, but I recommend that you kind of clean up the edges to make it flush.
Now, one of the most important parts of a gate build is the diagonal brace that goes from one corner to the other. So in order to actually put this in, what I'm gonna do is just kind of position this in place, mark it, and then cut it.
And again, instead of measuring, I'm just gonna position it in place so that it's flush with the corner. Then I'm gonna use clamps on both sides to hold it in place temporarily while I mark each of the cuts.
Okay, we're good on both sides. Let's go ahead and make our marks.
So I'm just gonna mark where that diagonal brace intersects with the horizontal rails, and I'm marking both sides and then connecting the line with my carpenter square. And once everything is marked, it's time to make the cuts.
Okay, let's see how we did with this guy. We'll go ahead and position it. Get that right in the corner. As you can see, we look pretty good right there. And then here, we look pretty good as well. Then for the second piece, this one's not quite as good, but it'll work. Let's go ahead and secure it in place. And once again, we're gonna toenail these Power Pro screws in just like we did before.
And if you're wondering what orientation you need to install the diagonal brace in, hold on one second, I'm gonna explain that as soon as we get it mounted on the hinges. Now, I'm gonna grab our freshly built gate, but before positioning it in place, I wanna make sure that I remove any high spots with a shovel, and then I'm taking this 2x6 right here to give myself a little bit of clearance above the ground so that the gate can swing freely. I wanted to make sure it was perfectly level, then I placed the gate on top of it.
Okay, so at this point, we're gonna attach the hinges that we bought on Amazon. We're gonna attach one here, one there, and then one at the top rail. I'm gonna start by mounting them to the 4x4, and then once we get the gate where we want it, we'll secure the gate to the hinges. And although the hinges come with hardware, I'm gonna throw this out. I don't trust those at all. I'm gonna secure the hinges to the post with some more Power Pro screws. I'll go with 3-inch into the 4x4, and then I think I'm gonna use 1 1/4 inch screws to attach the hinge to the gate. Okay, so we can see the approximate location for this hinge. So I'm gonna go ahead and install it pretty near the center right here. There's the first one.
And then I'm gonna install the other hinges just like that.
So what I'm gonna do here is use my carpenter square as a spacer to get the distance I want. And I'm gonna set a temporary 1 1/4 inch screw in this hinge just to hold it in place while I get everything configured. All right, we got our second hinge right here. We're gonna take another 1 1/4 inch screw. All right, moment of truth. Let's give it a test. Okay. So now that we're good with the fit, we have about 1/4 inch on this whole gap, which is exactly what we wanted. Let's go ahead and put the rest of the screws in the hinges. When you're thinking about the orientation for your diagonal brace in the gate, you want to think about the load. So basically the major load here is going to be at the furthest point opposite the fulcrum or the hinges. All of that load wants to go downward. So we need to position our diagonal brace so that that vertical load downward gets transferred to where it's actually attached at the hinges to that 4x4. So this is the correct orientation. If you were to install it this way and have nothing here, the gate would basically sag immediately. So something that I'm really not digging very much is how when this closes, you have this weird ugly gap here. So what I'm gonna do is add a piece of blocking there, and then this picket that we cut, I'm gonna reattach the other half right here. So let me first figure out how big the blocking needs to be. Just under 2 inches, just under 2 inches, right about 2 inches. So I'll cut those 3 and then we'll reattach it. All right, so we got our pieces of blocking cut. So we got it right here. So at this point in the project, the only thing left to do is install the gate latch. And for this project, I think I'm going to be installing the most secure and advanced lock on the planet. This is the gate lock manufactured by Yard Lock. Let's install it. So first things first, we'll get it open. And the major components here are the combination lock, which is the cool part about this. And then you just have your latch, which is gonna go on the inside. The first thing we have to determine is the latch height. I think somewhere right here is gonna be perfect. So let's go ahead and attach this to the 4x4. And although the gate lock comes with hardware, I'm gonna use Power Pro screws just because I'm a little bit more comfortable with these. So we'll position the latch in place where we want it.
And then we're gonna position the bar on the gate, get it positioned where you like, make sure it's level, and then screw it in place. Next up, we need to drill a hole through the 4x4, which is gonna allow us to feed that cable through to the other side. And obviously, don't use a hammer drill for this, use a regular drill. I just used a hammer drill to try to troll some people on Instagram for a video I posted, and some of the comments are hilarious. But I did pay the price using the wrong tool because I got some pretty horrendous tear out on the other side.
And then you're just gonna feed this cable through. As you can see here, you'll be able to pull on one side and that's gonna open the gate on the other. Now at this point, we'll go ahead and open this up. Quadruple 0 is what opens it to start, and then you're gonna feed the cable into the box like this. Now all we're gonna do is secure the box to the post using some screws. Then we have 2 set screws here that we need to loosen.
Then we're gonna pull off the cap and thread the cable through the set screws at the bottom, just like this.
Now you wanna see how far you're gonna have to pull this wire to get this open. Once you know, you're gonna tighten down these lock screws. Then you're gonna loop this wire around back underneath, pull that through and tuck it behind just like that.
Then at this point, all you need to do is set the combination for your lock.
And to open it, all you need to do is put in the combination, open it up, that's gonna release the lever and you are in. And for even more security, to prevent people from reaching over the top, you can install this cover. As you slip this over, the first screw is gonna go right through the top here. And then we have another 2 screws which get secured on the inside here. There you go. And if you're on the inside, to release the latch, all you do is push here. And the last thing to do, if you want to, is install a handle on both sides. Again, using 1 1/4 inch Power Pros, go ahead and get it centered. Now, something that I regret that might have been stupid is on this side, I positioned the handle wherever I thought it made sense, right? In terms of it being a comfortable height. But on the other side, I positioned it so it was centered with the lock. I don't know if that was a good idea. Let me know down in the comments if you think that was really stupid. I might end up changing that.
And here's a quick look at the new gate in operation.
All right guys, that's how you add a gate to an existing fence. I'm gonna be giving away a free Yard Lock to a random commenter down below. So drop a comment on something you would have done differently or some constructive criticism on the build. For more info on Power Pro screws and the Yard Lock, check out the link down below. And if you wanna see how I built that other gate, check out the link somewhere around here. Thanks for watching, I'll see you on the next one.